My name is Hutchinson, and I'm a former Team Canada powerlifter. When I first spoke up about a male competing in my category, I actually got a verbal warning from my federation saying that that's hate speech. I was called a bigot, I was called transphobic. I felt very silenced. I spoke out, and because I did, I got a 2-year suspension. Well, I mean, I wouldn't be alive today if I didn't start powerlifting. I came out of rehab in 2019 and I started powerlifting as a way to help me stay fit and healthy. And I owe everything to powerlifting. And I wouldn't have that in my life if I wasn't sober. I wouldn't be alive if I wasn't sober. I surely would be dead. So, you know, when I was suspended and that was taken away from me, just to appease the mental health of a male. Um, it's it was frightening and it's scary because to me that I felt like, am I gonna die if I don't have my sport? So um, it was very it was a very scary time, and I mean, for me to speak out the truth and have integrity, if I didn't do that every day, I would surely relapse. So truth and integrity is number one in my daily life.
So first of all, April, congratulations on becoming XXXY Athletics new spokesperson.
Yes, thank you. I'm very, very happy
Yeah.
about that. It's been something I was thinking about, and I should have done a long time ago, to be honest. But silly me, I thought, well, I could just do my own thing here in Canada. And I thought, but instead we were just drowning here in Canada. So that's why I reached out to Jennifer, and I said, you know what, we need some help, and it just makes sense because we're all, under the same common goal, which is keep female sports female and save women's sports. So it was just a great idea, and I should have done it a long time ago. But yeah, I'm just so happy. So it's a great company, great brand.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, I could see it becoming an international thing, getting more
Mhm.
athletes from different parts of the West who are dealing with this at the moment. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great idea. And it's a relatively new brand, I understand. I think it's
Yeah.
only been less than a year.
Actually, it's
And
funny because I believe their birthday is. Oh, I just got an email about it today. I can't actually look at it because I'm on my phone right now, but I believe it's March 25th, is it? But I just got the email
uh,
today. Well, anyways, this month in March is their 1 year birthday. So it's literally a year. So, um,
wow.
and that's the thing, for my company, I mean, I don't have a company. I literally have April Hutchinson. I call it April Hutchinson Apparel, and I just kind of have, like printable, like a little, like anyone could kind of just pick a company and make, like what you're wearing, right?
Mhm.
And I make mugs and T-shirts and this and that. I mean, I try to pick good quality, but it's not anything remotely near what XXXY does. And I mean, XXXY is a brand, right? And I am just a person, like a athlete here in Canada, that's just trying to spread the message by hopefully someone wearing what you're wearing, like a hoodie, because a lot of people are afraid to speak up here in Canada. Whereas Jennifer, I mean, she's such a brilliant marketer. I mean, she came, I believe, from, was it Levi's,
Levi,
and
yeah.
yeah. And she has, the backing, she has the brains, she has the people, she has everything behind her. And so it only made sense to get with her. And then obviously all the athletes and everyone behind her, we all stand for the same fight, right? Like we're all behind it. So I'm still gonna, obviously here in Canada, hopefully if someone wants to buy one of my hoodies, that's awesome. And like I said to her, I'm not out to make money. I'm just out for someone just to wear my hoodie and just to speak up if someone's afraid to say it with their own mouth, right? So it's
Yeah.
just, yeah. And I mean, man, their quality is just like every time I wear something of XXXY, I was like, wow, it just feels like silk, right? It's so
Mm.
cozy, and everything kind of feels like pajamas. I just could sleep in it all day long. So it's so cozy. I was just like, wow. Um, so yeah, and I mean, doing the commercial, I guess we'll talk about that too when we get to it. But doing that little ad with Riley and all the other athletes, it was just so amazing to be there and just to meet Peyton McNabb and all the rest of the crew. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So I understand it was shot in Nashville.
Yeah, it was
And
so
you met
cool.
all of them, all the other female athletes?
Yeah, so I've met Riley Gaines before. I got to meet her little sister, Neely. She's a gymnast.
Oh,
So
like
I
Jennifer.
actually met her mom. So I met Riley Gaines and Neely's mom, which was really cool because when you meet the mother of these phenomenal athletes, these little brave women, it's really nice to meet the parent of these people because it's like, wow, this is the person that's brought these girls up to become who they are. I always find that very fascinating, right? What kind of upbringing they have, what kind of, their morals and everything, their integrity, like who do they get that from? So, and then I met, I don't know how you say her name. Is it C or Shy?
Yeah,
C,
Illy, something
yeah,
like that. Yeah,
yeah,
Illy, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really cool meeting her. And then Lauren, is it the golfer? Yeah, the
Oh,
golfer.
yeah, I saw her in the commercial. She was like flipping the the golf
Yeah,
club.
yeah. So yeah, to meet all these athletes was really, really neat. And it was funny because a lot of them were, besides Sia or the one athlete, the volleyball player, we were all blonde. So we're kind of making fun of each other because we were like, wow, we all look related. We're all like, I mean, they all had like the Southern accents and the Southern blonde stuff. I was like, wow, we're all blonde. Um, but no, it was really neat. For the commercials. Brett Craig is the guy's name that directed it. So when you watch the
Oh,
commercial, it's really nice to have a male that's just so passionate about keeping men out of women's sports. I don't want to get back and I don't want to really tell his backstory, but no, he was really great at directing all the athletes and what, he would just ask us questions. And so that's kind of what made the commercial was, the funniest part was that he gave us a tablet and he's like, here, this is the Nike commercial that came out during the Super Bowl. Well, the best part is that in Canada, we don't get the same commercials that you do in the United States. So when my part came up in the commercial where I said, oh, this is my first time seeing it, that's the truth because I had never seen the commercial. So
wow.
I was actually like, wow, I couldn't believe it. And so then you watch the commercial, everyone watched it. They have seen it before, but I didn't. And then when I looked at it and I was like just blown away. And then he starts asking questions and he's like, what do you think about that? And I was like, I think it's hypocritical. I think it's a big slap into women's faces because we know what Nike stands for. And it's definitely not integrity. It's definitely not keeping men out of women's sports. I didn't bring up the whole Dylan Mulvaney in the sports bra part, but we know that there's. I mean, how many sporting events have they had where they sponsored them, where men have gone in and crushed women? Yeah, so the whole commercial is just hypocritical, like saying like you can't speak, and like I mean, it was just crazy. So
Let's take a look at
yeah,
the Nike commercial, and then we'll take a look at your commercial.
yeah,
See your response.
You can't be demanding. You can't be relentless. You can't put yourself first. So, put yourself first. You can't be confident. So be confident.
Very interesting.
yeah. So I said to Brett, I'm like, yeah, we can't dominate because men are dominating us, and we can't win because men are women, like, or men are the ones winning. Like, it's just like so bad. It's so crazy. I feel like it was almost, I actually said it was fake feminism, and it was very misogynistic, very, very misogynistic.
It's definitely trying to keep us back almost
Yeah,
because it's highlighting issues that we remember from the 90s, I would
yeah,
say, and then ignoring like the big elephant in the room that is I consider the biggest threat to women's sports at the moment, which is men competing in our categories. So let's
yeah.
take a look at your commercial as a response. Awesome commercial.
That is actually the first time I've seen that.
Did the Nike ad resonate as true for me?
Do you feel society's telling you you can't be confident as a female athlete?
I disagree with that. I never have been told that I, can't flex or can't do this or that.
Do I feel like I can be confident? Yes, I feel like I can be confident in my sport.
Female athletes have to be demanding.
That Nike ad kind of represented old feminism.
Basically, fake feminism.
I don't think anyone is telling women in sports that they can't champion their sport.
You can't have fun. Do you feel that's true?
No, I don't think that's true.
To me, it looks like pretending to care about women when obviously they don't.
Nike is ignoring the real problem.
The one subject right now that women are not allowed to talk about.
There is one issue that we are told as female athletes we can't talk about.
And that's women being dominated by men in sports.
Males being in women's sports, they didn't address the issue that's pressing at hand.
Did anybody tell you you should stay silent?
Speaking up is something that is terrifying.
A lot of pressure put on us to stay silent
Because there is still this fear of you're going to lose sponsors.
My university told me I'd never get a job.
I got a 2-year suspension from powerlifting.
I've lost a lot. I've lost my career of 30 some years.
I have received death threats.
I was physically attacked.
I have been threatened.
Got shot at.
And punched in the face.
Personally, I've been called transphobic.
They ended up holding me for ransom. Hateful.
I was a Hitler sister.
Everybody's in fear to speak out because they see what happened to me.
I think the scariest part is when they go after your livelihood.
And it was pretty disheartening to know that the people who we've been representing, playing for the last 4 years, chose not to fully back their student athletes.
What would you say to Nike?
Nike really don't see us.
My message to Nike would be stop being hypocritical. To think about the daughters that you have.
How many more female athletes are going to lose out on opportunities before you say anything?
You are using us when it's convenient for you, but in private, you're not doing anything about it.
It's time to just do it.
Just do it.
That's your slogan, isn't it, Nike? Just do it. Stand up for women. It's the easiest thing in the world to do.
And just this past weekend, I wore one of my hoodies, my Keep Female Sports female hoodies to, right now we have our election time coming up, and Pierre Poilievre was in my city, so I went to support him, and there was a huge rally outside, and part of that commercial, I had to talk about all the threats that I had received, like death threats, them going after my livelihood, and there was a particular trans activist in my city by the name of Stevie B, and has slandered me, has tried to get me fired, had my art exhibit taken down at one of the museums here in my city. And that particular individual actually showed up yesterday. And one of my followers was there, a really beautiful young lady, just doing some media videos. And actually, I'll send you the clip. But this individual assaulted 2 individuals, took an air horn and blew it right in their ears. And they asked, that's hurting my ear. That's hurting me. Stop it. And they said, well, why are you doing that to me? And they said, because you're wearing a Keep Female Sports female shirt. That was the reason. So, yeah.
Wow.
Assaulting people just for wearing the same t-shirt that you're wearing, basically. So,
have you met women who have purchased these sort of shirts but show some reluctance to wear them to certain places?
No, but the funny thing is, when I was at the rally yesterday, at the conservative rally, when I went to have my picture taken with the future prime minister, who I think he will win, they actually asked me to take off my hoodie when I was getting my picture taken with them.
Wow.
Just because they don't want anything associated with Trump right now.
Oh.
Because because of all the tariff stuff going on right now. The funny part is, when I was there, every conservative member of parliament was like, I love your hoodie, giving me thumbs up. But when I actually had to go get a photo taken with Pierre, they're like, could you just take it off? Because we do not want to get destroyed right now by the left. And I was like, for optics, right? So I said, I totally get it. I can do you this favor because I want him to win so bad. So I took it off. But then when I shook his hand, he actually, I said, hey, I'm April Hutchinson. He recognized who I was. And he said, and I said, I'm fighting for fairness in women's sports. And he said, yes, definitely. He goes, female sports are for females only. And he gets it. He knows.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, I can understand.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
So.
that topic is linked to Trump at the moment. So the whole
Yeah.
tariff, like you said, it can create more issues on
Yeah.
top of what, associate more issues with the shirt than needs to be associated with it. So Jennifer, when the Nike commercial came out, there were some initial reactions. And Jennifer herself, she said, you're so full of it. The only thing female athletes are told they can't do is stand up for the integrity of their sports, for keeping men out of women's sports. Literally, that's the only thing, she wrote on X. And there was a broadcaster, Michelle Tafoya. She said, Nike is too late to this party, and they're stuck in stereotypical language from about 25 years ago. What a waste of ad dollars. So they were really getting it from, people who understand what the real issue is at the moment in regards to keeping women's sports female and little girls being forced to compete against boys if they want to be included in sports and, everything that's going on at the moment. So why do you think companies are still trying to bring up old feminist issues that aren't applicable today and ignoring the issue with women's sports and men in women's sports?
I really don't know right now, because like even you got World Athletics now changing their policies. You got even like the next Olympics are changing, the one that's going to be happening in California. I'm seeing like obviously the DEI, people are ditching the DEI. I've even noticed in my own city, which is super woke. I'm seeing like buildings that have always had like the flag up, taking it down and just having our Canada flag up. It's just changing. And so I get this question all the time, and I honestly can't answer it. It has to come down to money. It just has to come down to money. So, otherwise I just don't, I have no answer for it. Because it's going to be the way of the wind. It's going to be gone. So I just don't know. Canada is much different than the States. I don't know if you knew this, but like when Pierre or whoever, hopefully it's Pierre, when he gets in power, he just can't sign some order like Trump does to across Canada. I have to tackle every province by province to have, like, so far Alberta has legislation to protect the female category. I'm now working. Yeah, which is great. I was there for that. And now I'm working on Doug Ford, who's my premier in Ontario. But we're going to have to, we almost had British Columbia if they had won last year, if they had a conservative leader, but unfortunately the NDP struck it down. So we just have to go province by province. It's going to take a long time, but we're not designed the way the States are. So it's not the way our system works, but so it is going to take time, but I mean, it's a fight worth it. I mean, unless our premier or our prime minister does repeal, it's called Bill C-16, which means that right now men can just identify as women and they can go into women's sports and spaces. So that can be repealed. And if that's the case, then that will put an end to a lot of it. So, yeah.
I mean, even here, it's still going to take some time because there are states resisting the executive order.
Yes.
So, and then unfortunately, the bill that passed through the House, Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, didn't pass through the Senate because Democrats didn't vote for it.
Yes.
So, those are setbacks as well that we're still dealing with here. But the executive order is a huge step forward. And we're just hoping that these states will be held accountable and see the value in actually following the executive order, not continuing to force girls to compete against boys. So,
and I think in the meantime, I think what people have to realize is they have to be more like I'm very outspoken. people have to be more like the Riley Gaines and more like the Peyton McNabs. And like, if you see a man in your space, you call it out. And, you know, I met plenty of people, and I met plenty of men. Of course, I'm at a conservative rally because I was talking to them because, you know, I was standing in line and they said, you know, where's all the feminists? How come that this is such a problem? I'm like, hey. I said, first of all, I'm not even a feminist. This isn't a feminist problem. This is such a common sense protection of women and children. Okay, so we have protection of, you know, we don't want men in women's sports. That's just common sense. That's biology. We don't want puberty blockers to minors. We do not want sexualization of kids, indoctrination in school systems, right? This is all having to do with protection of women and children. That should be top priority of every school system, of every organization, of every government across the board in every country, everywhere. You don't have to be liberal. You don't have to be a leftist. You don't have to be right wing. That should be on the forefront of everyone. Do you not agree, Irene?
Absolutely.
I just don't get it. So when a man says to me, where's the feminists? I really just come back to him and say, where are the men standing in front of the locker rooms, banding arms and blocking those locker rooms from the men going in with the change rooms with their little girls? It shouldn't be left up to the women to be stopping this stuff in the first place. You know, I mean, we should all be working together. So until these bills are passed and this and that in all these countries and all the different areas, why don't we start wearing hoodies, calling it out? Because you know what, think if everyone used their voice, if everyone shouted it out, if everyone was a walking billboard, it would be magnificent. It would start dwindling down. More people would wake up, and it really would start dwindling. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And the recent polls and everything like that have shown that we do have the numbers in our favor now.
Exactly.
So the people are there, you know, who can speak up and defend women, defend children. The numbers are there. So we just have to do it, especially while we're waiting for the law to catch up.
Yeah, the polls have shown that 98% agree with no men in sports. So start using your voices, people. Like, you know, like I say in my speeches, like there's not going to be news coverage of, oh, men band together and block change room because a pedophile or a mentally ill man wants to go in with a 9-year-old girl in the change room. Do you think that's going to make the evening news? No, it's not, because everyone agrees with that. So, you know.
That's what it comes down to. Like you said, it's a matter of right from wrong. You know,
exactly.
Even before we talk about common sense, just do the right thing.
Do the right thing. Yeah.
And Riley Gaines, she did point out that there's been a culture shift with all of these topics recently. And she questions why more big name athletes don't speak out. And she mentioned specifically Caitlin Clark, Simone Biles. And she said, you know, you guys should join XXXY. Having more brand ambassadors who with athletes who are currently competing, huge name athletes, would make the world of a difference. So she challenged them to join brands such as XXXY. Do you have much hold up much hope in that?
Oh, well, I can name a bunch of names that should join, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, I agree. So it's really a pity that they don't.
Because she was saying, I can understand maybe before people would be more fearful about doing that, but now with the majority of people being for it, you know, banning men from women's sports, why not? What's stopping you?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Out now.
Well, it's coming out now, and I mean, exactly, and like I just said, what's happening now with the Olympics and the world athletics, right? So it's like, which side do you want to be on? Like, you know what I mean? When you go to bed at night, I just don't get it. Like, do you want to sleep soundly? Like I said, you know, what we just talked about, integrity, right? It's doing the right thing when no one's looking, right? Do you want to, it's like me when I found out that male was powerlifting, you know, I kept it for a week to myself, and I was like, no, I just wasn't sleeping. I'm like, I can't let this go on. And same with, like, I didn't continue to powerlift, even though I could go and get gold medals. I'm like, no, this isn't right. So, I mean, come on, people, like, you have to live a life with truth and integrity. It's the right thing. So.
And recently there was a trans athlete in track and field. He was racing against teenagers. This person's 21. And a bunch of teenage girls and even some older athletes, they refused to compete. And people are saying that's, unfortunately, that's probably what's going to do it, where women decide to just outright refuse, like they did with in volleyball recently, with the numerous boycotts across various schools. So on one hand, it makes perfect sense, but on the other hand, like you were saying, is that too much pressure that we're putting on young athletes to do that? What would you say? Because you are somebody who did refuse.
Yeah, like I did refuse. It is, I get the part where, you know, you train so hard, you put a lot of money into it, you have a goal in mind. I mean, to give up your dreams, it is very difficult. You know, even to this day, like I talked to my fiance about it, I feel like a part of me is missing. Because I need to compete. I have to look forward to something. That was my sport, right? Powerlifting was what I was the best at for me. I'm dabbling now in a little bit of boxing, a little bit of MMA. I started doing pickleball, which is really off for me. Because I usually gravitate towards more like the aggressive, get your anger out sports. So, and I've lost a lot of weight too. So it has taken a little bit of something out of me. So you do lose a lot. And I mean, a lot of high level athletes too are very much prone to depression for when they don't place. Then they put a lot of pressure on themselves. Just like they're very more prone to like stuff like eating disorders and this and that, right? So, and they obviously have OCD and all these other disorders. So yeah, I get it, but I also, you know, I would never regret speaking up about the male powerlifter. I mean, that was my situation. I mean, I was the only one, Irene, that did speak up. I mean, everyone else in my federation is just going about their day and competing. I mean, I don't even know what Anne is doing nowadays. I don't know if Anne's suspension is up, if Anne's going back to powerlifting. I don't even know if Anne's even I just don't know. But I just know I was the only one that obviously had a problem with it and thought it was wrong. So what does that tell you? Also, I do know that it didn't affect the men's category, obviously, but I do know that a lot of women, and I said this yesterday to someone at the rally, is that women have been my biggest enemy in this fight. They have been the ones that have let the men into the sports and said, hey, it's okay. You know, let's baby his feelings. Because you know what, he's got problems. He's got mental illness or mental disorder or gender dysphoria, which let's make sure he's okay before we're okay and let him in. And I, you know, how do you, it's, so that's part of the problem too, is that women are more nurturing characters and they've kind of helped this problem. So.
Yeah. And everything they say that person needs, the women need it too. The women need sports. The women need an outlet for their skills, their talent, and the women deserve to not be excluded.
Well, yeah, like, well, that's like with my situation was, and I talked about this on my commercial. They didn't put this in the commercial with Riley for the thing, but it's like the producer was asking me questions and they didn't know this about me. And I was like, yeah, they bent over backwards for this man's mental health and they didn't care about my sobriety or my mental health. Like I was the one getting the death threats and being attacked, and not once did he get any discipline, you know, so they didn't care about the women's mental health. I know women that lived on the streets were into drugs, that actually went into basketball, into all these different sports just to get them off the streets so they didn't die. And then men went into the sports. So like, you know, you were part of that video, right? Of how sports actually helped you in your life, right? You know,
Exactly.
yeah. So, I mean, they just neglect our mental health and just bend over backwards for these men. And it's just, you know, I do see a little bit of changes now, not so much in Canada, but I mean, hopefully, you know, and that's why XXXY, you know, I do love their videos that they put out. They put one out with the children, with the little girls, and
Oh yeah, they
they're
were
very
addressing
great.
Nike in that one.
Yeah, that was a Nike one, and
Yeah,
those are
I mean,
powerful. Hmm.
it makes no sense. What about the little girls? I mean,
Yeah,
how do you think it affects them to be
yeah,
excluded from sports or even to deal with injury? I mean,
yeah,
we have athletes like Peyton McNabb, whose career was ended because
yeah,
they allowed a male athlete, you know, on the opposing team. And I
yeah,
don't think this has ended a female athlete's career, not to mention the things that come with that, with scholarships, applying to colleges. I mean, it doesn't even bear thinking about. And it makes no sense to prioritize one group of people's demands and entitlements and ignore the actual needs and rights of another.
yeah,
And then give yourself a pat on the back and say, look what we're doing for inclusion and for the
yeah.
disenfranchised.
No, exactly. And
Yeah.
then and I actually did this on an interview yesterday. I said this is that, like, when I got into sports as a kid, I thought it was so cool to wear Nike. And I was a big basketball player, and I can still remember my first pair of high tops were Nike, and I was so proud to wear Nike everything, and that was the in style. And
Yeah.
so when I found out about Nike, I I literally got teary eyed, like I was just so upset. And and guess what? I still remember I was like shocked because I found out, you wouldn't believe how many pairs of Converse shoes I have. You know they own Converse too, right?
Yeah. I've got a few.
And I was like, no, that's all I wore for my deadlifts, because I used to wear Converse from when I was doing my deadlifts. And I got rid of everything. I had
Oh.
to. I was just so upset, and I got rid of all my Nike stuff, and I refused to wear. Like, even when I was training with my trainer like a couple of weeks ago, and she's wearing her Nike, so I always pointed out, I'm like, you know that it doesn't work. Oh yeah. You talk about boycott. I am that person. I'm like, no, I'm done. Like, and I'm just so disappointed because they have no integrity. They have no, like, so.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like a huge slap in the face, especially the
Yeah.
sports bra thing. I couldn't
That's
believe
what did
that.
it for me. I was talking to Rebel News yesterday about it. That's what was the clincher, was the
Yeah.
Dylan Mulvaney thing. And I was like, that's done. Like, I don't care about the Bud Light stuff because I don't even drink beer, but I was just like, no, it was Dylan Mulvaney for me that did it. So
Yeah.
for the
And he's
sports
the one
bra.
who was involved with the Bud Light as well, anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
That's,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's just like I was saying, it feels. I took it personally because I'm like, of all the female athletes you could have chosen, who could do with a sponsorship deal, and you pick someone who's not even an athlete, far from it.
Not even female.
No, exactly. For sports
Her
bras,
bra.
which is
I
something
go.
that, you know, a lot of women struggle with finding the right bra. And you go and pick a male spokesperson. It was like we're being trolled. It really was.
No, it was horrible. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, when you filmed the commercial, did you guys go and hang out afterwards at all?
Well, that weekend was actually crazy for me because I actually flew in. Sorry, that was the week of the plane crash in Toronto when it flipped upside down.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually was supposed to arrive. So I had to fly into Edmonton, Alberta, the Friday night. I was supposed to get there at 9 p.m. because I was doing a talk. I don't know if you know, he's an NHL player, Theo Fleury. He used to play for the Calgary Flames. He's a pretty famous player. But we did a speech together about, he was also sexually abused by actually Team Canada, like he wrote a book. He's very, he goes around and does speeches, but he's also a recovering alcoholic. So we did a speech together in Edmonton, but I was late by 8 hours because my plane was delayed. So I did a speech with him on the Saturday, and then XXXY was like, oh, can you come do the commercial on the Sunday? And I was like, well, I'll see if I can change my flight. So I did a midnight flight. So I was actually 2 days without sleep. I get to Nashville, still no sleep. And my flight was delayed again. So I literally got there to Nashville, no sleep, kind of did my makeup a little bit to cover, like, I was like, oh my God, how do I look? And then I was there like maybe an hour. So I hung out with them like an hour and a half before the photo thing, the shoot.
Oh.
And yeah, I didn't get to hang out after because they went home then. Yeah, so we didn't have dinner, but I think I'll be back. I mean, Riley and I have been texting for like a couple of years now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I told her I'll be back to Nashville. So I think I'm going to go back to Nashville with my fiance because it looks like a really cool city. I got to see some of it. So yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what else they go on to do moving forward.
Yeah.
With an exciting new brand that has a amazing message, obviously. So
yeah, and everyone is so nice. Like all the people I've met with XXXY, like Jennifer is just so loving and just such a sweet woman. I met Maggie. She's another worker. I mean, everyone there was so nice, and they gave me like some other, like a top and some other like outfits that I can wear and do some photos with. Because I used to do photography myself, but I know I know so many photographers here. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do a bunch of photos when I get home and just like, tag them. I'm always doing photos anyways. Right. So, and I'm always like working out and doing stuff. So, but they're so nice. Like they just feel like family to me already. So, great.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything else that you've got going on that you wanted to share before we finish up?
No, just like just people just keep speaking up, right? We have an election coming up here in Canada. I think maybe it'll start in 2 weeks. Let's hope, but let's just root for Pierre Poilievre because we need that. And I'll just keep on like writing letters and keep trying to work on our politicians here, and that's about it. So I'm going to Peru in June with my fiance, but I'm going to try to have a nice, relaxing summer. Sometimes you just need to take a break from politics and from all this stuff. I love working on it, but sometimes you just need a little bit of a mental break. So
Absolutely. I forgot to ask you, what advice would you give to young female athletes who want to speak out but are very reluctant to do so because of for obvious reasons?
I think like the best advice would just be like, as far as like the sportings part of it would be, I mean, if you think there is say a male in your sport, maybe first confront them, right? But maybe tell your parent first, right? Confide in someone that you trust, like your parent first, and discuss it. And then see how you feel about that. And then maybe go to the coach after that. First, if you feel good about it, I wouldn't immediately go up to that person and just confront them. But just before you feel like safe doing it, you know what I mean? And then, and if you don't have any progress with that, there is an organization here in Canada, so there's a Canadian one called ICFS, but there's also in the States who helped me. It's called Icons. So yeah. So you can also reach out to me. So I'm on Instagram. That's probably the best way because it's just my name, April Hutchinson. So if there is anyone out there that needs advice on how to go about, say, if there is a male in your sport or just wants to speak out about it, please reach out to me because I can give you great advice and I can give you some contacts that can help you as well to go about doing it and stuff like that the proper way. And that way you're not just like blah, 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 like saying it out loud and stuff like that. It's like proper channels of doing it. And that way I can give you some resources as well. That's probably the best bet instead of just kind of thinking of a way to do it. It's probably the best bet is just to reach out to me. Plus, I can, I can send you some stickers. I can send you some free swag and stuff like that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, excellent advice. So thank you, April.
No problem.
Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, I always love it.